The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
20 years into this show, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of energy this show gives off, Hawk. Probably a manic energy. But one energy I'm pretty sure it doesn't give off is white girls love to tell me I'm awesome.
Hey, come on.
I finally started paying attention.
You specifically, or like?
No, because like the show opened, which that song's a banger. And I really hope I'm not blowing up a spot.
I don't feel like we talk about how much of a banger the opening song is. Every time I do the show, and this is no exaggeration, it's the first thought that comes into my head as soon as it plays.
That it's way too cool for us.
Way too cool for us.
If you guys have never thought that, if you have never thought, man, this opening song is a banger, then yes, it is too cool. Do we know who this is?
So I'm assuming it's a royalty-free track, which is why it's playing, which I'm sorry, kid. Gotta get a better agent. Like that song is so good.
I mean, he's carrying.
I would see that dude on tour.
Can we make this a thing? Let's find out who it is. There's nothing he can do because legally, if it's royalty-free, this is the path you chose, my son. But I would love to do something for the guy, man. I want to hear his other music.
There's a couple royalty-free bangers out there that live.
You will sneak up on them.
Yeah, like the Hardy Boys entrance, royalty-free. Old school Lex Luger theme, royalty-free. Yeah, there's a couple really good ones.
Do you think he has any idea that it's the show open here?
I really would love to. He probably recorded this like 5 years ago, and he has no idea that a show that's hosted by two 50-over-plus dudes is just banging its way into its sports talk show with white girls that love to tell me I'm awesome.
Oh man, it's special.
I want to see it pop up in like a Taco Bell commercial. You know, because that's what we had some imaging once that we used for some segment. All of a sudden, it's like, is that in that Subway commercial?
No, it was my Tony's Top 5 theme. It was like a Dallas Cowboys like Amerant Bank commercial. I was like, wait a second. I was like, Leo, wait.
Hey, we paid $4.99 for that.
That's my song.
What are we doing here?
Royalty-free music occasionally has some bangers up its sleeve, and the NBA playoffs has certainly had more than a few bangers up its sleeve. Last night, kind of nondescript night in the association. We know with Steph being out, that was probably the result that we were headed for. The one thing that I was interested in watching last night, you're always going to be interested in like whatever Draymond and Rudy Gobert have going on. So I just have that on the TV on mute just to see like if there's going to be a fight breaking out. But also like, does playoff Jimmy have one more last job in him? Does he have one last heist in him? And I think going up 2-0 on the road is probably a little bit of a bridge too far there. But tonight we're back. Tonight in the association, we got high stakes. We got Cleveland fighting for its life over there. Ernie Johnson fighting to be like the most right ever about a playoff series. And we got the best player on the planet going up against OKC, having done what they needed to do on the road, split one. Now they have home court over in Denver. I'm really curious to see how this goes out. But a pretty chill night in the association. If you missed out on it, you don't miss too much. And over the weekend, we have, of course, New York Knicks all day.
There was a bit of a scare when Ant got his ankle stepped on. We were like, oh no, are we about to lose yet another star for the NBA playoffs on the Western Conference side? Obviously, Steph got hurt with the hamstring injury. And then all of a sudden, he needs help to get hobbled back into the tunnel, back into the locker room, and then comes out like if nothing happened and looked like incredible.
Well, on that note, Paul Pierce famously went out on a wheelchair and nothing actually happened.
Well, something happened.
Yeah, he shit his pants.
It happens.
So
it's happened.
The key storyline in last night's NBA for me was Paul Pierce walking to work because Boston went down 2-0 against the New York Knicks, and he said that he would make an 8-hour walk to the Fox studios.
In a robe.
wearing slides.
He said
barefoot.
He said barefoot
in the tweet that I saw. So all I saw was the last video, and I was immediately skeptical of a dude whose nickname is The Truth. So let's play some video here of Paul Pierce. We report, you decide kind of deal, because I didn't think he actually made this entire walk. But Hawk, you told me that he was kind of live streaming this.
I thought that's maybe they had good propaganda, because I didn't go deep into the story, but from what I saw, the articles, the headlines made it seem as if he was giving frequent updates that people weren't questioning whether or not it was legit.
This video we're gonna play is alive, so he was live. I just don't think we know whether there was some like gaps there where it's like, oh, he just jumped 6 miles in an hour.
Okay,
I'm skeptical because he doesn't look. Let's roll it here.
Skeptical.
Let's roll it here and we can have it low. But I'm skeptical of how sweaty he looks at the end.
Time for me to get the stepping. Oh damn. It's nice and right outside. All right.
So this is him leaving his house.
Not barefoot.
Yeah. All right, now let's cut now to a later version of it, the one where he's like celebrating. Let's see what we got here.
Damn, dog. I made it, y'all. We made it, y'all. We made it. We made it.
Doesn't look too sweaty.
Oh my God. They got a wheelchair for you. Oh my gosh. I can't
That's a good joke. That's good comedy right there.
Sit down right here, Joe. Damn, I made it, y'all. I made it. I made it, dog. Look at this. This is crazy. Look at that, I can't believe I'm never doing this again, y'all. I ain't never put no bet like this ever again.
I don't know.
Now with that hairline in that sun,
I kind of believe it.
You're gonna be a little. You're not gonna be shinier than that.
All right, so when he left the house, it was clearly, I would say, give or take around 5:07 a.m. I have no idea, but looking at the sunlight, and it was kind of in L.A.
It was 70 degrees yesterday.
That's a nice day.
Where, in L.A.?
Yeah.
And that was the high.
Yeah.
So at 5 a.m. in L.A., it's going to be like 58.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like Florida where it's 97 degrees 24 hours a day. So if he's leaving that early, I can see where it's a little chilly. You know, he's closing the road when he's walking out of the house, so it's probably cold.
Our video team is showing here just some like footage of like his day. It's not all Instagram live. There are clearly, you guys put up what you have here now. Clearly Instagram stories are involved here. It's not 100% live, so my radar's up.
It's up?
Yeah, like
Fight through.
Do that time. Wait, good job, Chris. Do that time scrape that you guys were doing in the preview screen, where we kind of like go over this stretch of time. My skepticism is not that he was committed to the bit, but I kind of feel like maybe there was a car on standby. You know that Fox sent out security,
right?
That he wasn't doing this by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So there was absolutely a vehicle around him while he did this. There's no way Paul Pierce is just walking 8 miles in LA, committed to a bit for content for Fox, and people know about this. He even put out like the map and the route that he was going to take. So I imagine there's a crew following him, making sure that he's okay. So the skeptical part of me is, and I'll bring in Skeptical Billy here, is did he like go from certain points in this car, freshen up a little bit? I don't care if it's 70 degrees. You're going to be shinier than that. That's where I'm skeptical.
Okay. I mean, the low was 59 when he started. I think he did it.
I lived in L.A., man. I'm pretty spot on.
guy.
I like it.
I like him. Well, I mean,
I never realized how much I say I like him until you cut that clip. And then everybody says it back to me now.
It was the pitch, though.
I go to that pitch.
It was
it's like
high
my
off the
go-to
glass,
pitch.
yeah.
I don't know why I do it. I have no idea.
I like him.
There's so many things about this show that have really turned the mirror around. There's so many things that I'm confused about as well. I don't know why people in the street keep calling me Walter.
Oh, that's right. That happened.
I haven't been here for weeks, and I laugh it off as if I know what the hell they're talking about. But it has been happening pretty frequently.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you ran into Greg Cody in public, would you recognize him?
Oh, for sure.
He apparently wouldn't recognize you. Now, I wasn't aware of this. You guys have never met. Like, you guys have never been scheduled against one another?
Or we've been in the same room.
He seems to think that you guys have never met.
Yeah. He might not be wrong.
Yeah, but
I'm also played football, so my memory's not. You know?
Well, he's also
we're in the
approaching
same
that
boat.
age where
Yeah,
his memory.
my brain, his brain are like really neck and neck there.
Plus, it was at the height of us talking about White Lotus and like Hawkins and Goggins. So like there was some people saying that my dad heard Hawkins, thought Goggins, so that's where he got
But his
Walter.
name is Walton.
But it's Walton.
But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to.
Okay.
My dad can just kind of.
You're an apologist for your father.
So he thought my name was Walter? Is
Here,
that what, or he like
I have a
misspoke?
clip.
Or
I have a clip of
I
someone
wanna see a
mentioned
clip.
you, and this is him being like, I have.
I don't know Walter.
That's like someone said Hawkins, and he's like, I don't know Walter.
Okay. Well, I also don't know Walter.
So.
Hawkins. All right. I mean, so that's why people are calling me Walter. That makes sense. Some people who have asked me to change my Twitter name to Walter, they have like, I'm talking about at least 20 times.
It is kind of odd that you guys have never been staffed on the same show or had interactions. I mean, it's a show that has like a shared universe, and you've been in this building for a couple of years now. It's just,
I've been here. Yeah, no.
It's just really odd that you guys have never.
It is. I thought he retired from the show.
My dad is very regularly dismissive of other co-hosts. He has this thing where he likes to
He's
be.
the GOAT. He's like he's an OG. I do feel like though I've been on the show even prior than the last 2 years. And he may have been on the show while I was like a call-in guest. I'd have to go back in the archives and check.
I think we can have someone on that assignment. Yeah, there was probably a day that you were taping with Joe Thomas in the studio
like
doing a
call-in.
Yeah, although that would mean 3 seats are occupied in this studio. So I'm not exactly sure even if the studio layout would lend itself to that.
Yeah, maybe not. But I don't feel like it was this studio. I feel like it was OG studio. I'm talking like 2018.
Wow, Clevelander?
19. Yeah, like I think this might have been a Clevelander sitch.
All right, well, we gotta track down that video. So I'm just kind of ticking down the moments to Knicks Celtics, and I really wasn't aware that I could be this big of a Knicks fan. Like I worked out in Tim's the other day. Like I am so pumped for this, and it kind of dawned on me because I hated New York and the New York Knicks, and that Heat rivalry when I was growing up meant everything in the world to me. But then the Heat have had such more of an intense rivalry with the Boston Celtics over the course of their franchise history. Now, it never came to blows, but in terms of stakes, in terms of you had multiple blueprint games. You had Paul Pierce's stupid ass in the middle of it. You had so many things going. I hate Paul Pierce.
Clearly.
By the way, Jason Tatum, since the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat, you include the Olympics, and now he's shooting about 27% from three in these high-stakes games.
He played in the Olympics?
Well, Steve Kerr's decision-making when it comes to Jason
Captain
Tatum
America.
is kind of validated, no? Kind of validated, no? And I know he won a championship in the middle of that, but Jaylen Brown carried his ass. So Jason Tatum, we're looking at you. You got to rise to the occasion. You idolize Kobe? Okay. I think I saw Nick Wright call him. He is Kobe Bryant of Paul George's, which is a bar and a stinging indictment. That is a. How long did I'm going to text him? How long did it take you to come up with? He is a Kobe Bryant of Paul
so good.
George's.
He'd tell you like 3 seconds.
That is a crazy good line. They need to win both games at Madison Square Garden. They need to win both. I know that they need to win 4 to win the series. Thank you for holding up the 4.
They need to win 4.
I know, but they ain't winning 4 if they don't come away with both these games. I'm telling you right now. You give the Garden one dub, and they're just 1 win away from potentially a clash with Halliburton, and then all the videos from that Friday Night SmackDown that they did are going to pop up. Halliburton literally picked up brass knuckles, and Jaylen Brown hopped over the barrier there to stop him from doing that. Like they had a face-off in the middle of the ring. People didn't know that this happened between Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they went into a WWE ring, had a face-off. Halliburton was wearing a Tyrese 316 T-shirt and jorts. He had brass knucks in his hand. This is something that happened. They had a face-off. Halliburton had his own entrance. This was something that happened.
When was this?
I'm telling you, it was like last summer.
We need the clips. Pull the clips.
Get the stills. The stills are incredible. You think you think it's AI. No, this is something that actually happened.
What the hell?
But we don't have Knicks Celtics today. So what we have today is a blueprint game potentially for the Florida Panthers. Now the Florida Panthers, they've been down 2 games during this run. They've been down 2 games in a series before, Roy. They were down 3-1 to Brad Marchand and the Boston Bruins when they were an 8 seed. They came back in that series at the death, tie that game in Game 7, and then Swaggy calls game. So, the Florida Panthers have been here before. Now, I understand. down 0-2. We're just saying how the Celtics are borderline screwed because they dropped the first 2 games. A lot of people are holding up. Well, why don't you talk about the Panthers? It's a different situation. They dropped the first 2 games in Canada. Now they come back home. They come back home, and I got to tell you, I'm not nervous yet. Where I'll be nervous is if Toronto scores the first goal, then I'll be doing all the tricks in the trade when it comes to all the skepticism that I have about Brad Marchand and that acquisition. Roy, I know he's been the best player so far for Florida this series.
That line has been our best line.
That line has always been our best line.
No.
That line
has always been a good third line. Reinhart, Barkov, and that second line, it's been a good third line. I'm with you. It's been an elite third line for years, but it's rarely our best line.
Or not rarely. No, that has always been the playoff energy line. That has always been the line. You want to get a winger going, you put them with E2 and you put them with Lundell. And the fact that Brad Marchand is rising to the occasion, I think good for him, but I think it's a testament to how good that line is. It jumpstarts a bunch of different people.
I think if I'm looking at the first 2 games, who needs to play better, I'm looking at Tkachuk and Bob.
I think people are being a little too hard on Bob. I think Bob has had some good saves. You want to say that he's let in some soft ones. That could be fine.
Well, he has let in some soft ones. You got to make those saves.
The last goal was bad.
The last goal was a bit of a snipe. Nyes is in front of the net screening him, and that goes upper 90. So, and that's Mitch Marner. I understand what you're saying. His positioning needs to be a little bit better. What I'd like to see from Florida is they've let Toronto screen Bob at their free will, and we got to get some bodies pushing bodies
slow
over
them
there.
down. The counter.
You mentioned who needs to be better, and you lump Bob in there, and I would put Bob 12th on this list.
To me, it's the first 2 lines. I mean, outside of the Barkov power play goal, the first 2 lines have been empty.
Your top 6 have been bad, and they just haven't. It's not like score goals, guys. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying handle the puck, be where you're supposed to be awake and aware. When Barkov is sending a centering pass in front of the net, Swaggy's not expecting it. I don't know if every pass to Carter Verhaeghe has been bad, but it seems as though that's either been the case or he's just completely out of position.
No. Verhaeghe had it in front of the net with 5 minutes left in that game. He needed to put that one home.
Well, Carter Verhaeghe, number 1 on the team, needs to do better.
Yeah,
and he needed to do better for the past few months. He hasn't done well at all.
All season long. And I watch these games, and I'm not necessarily sure it's something that Toronto is doing. The Panthers' best players just need to wake up. Reinhart, Barkov, Tkachuk. Tkachuk had a nightmare of a game.
He almost looks like he's still battling with something.
We always do this.
I know, but
he looked good against Tampa. He's just got to wake up. Swaggy, maybe that ship has sailed. I was worried about that contract. I'm pretty sure Carter Verhaeghe's best hockey is behind him. And now I was believing in Sam Reinhart, but from midseason on, now I'm a little curious as to what I've saw over the last year and a half. Which is the real Sam Reinhart? Please stand up. I'm not super concerned yet. Like I said, this is a champion. This is a team that has had its back against the wall, and most importantly of all, folks, that's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh yeah, they got something in them in their back pocket.
They're gonna blow it somehow.
That's a Toronto Maple Leafs. They look good to start against Ottawa, and then the weight of that maple leaf on the front of their jersey started weighing them down. And Ottawa almost came back in that series and tied it up 3-3 after being down 3-0.
Well, here's the major thing that the Panthers are going to have to show up because they're allowing the players to get behind them. Their transition defense has been very good, and the rush against a team who's top 10 in goals on the rush. You can't have that happen. A lot of stretch passes have gotten past the defenseman, leading the breakaway. So they're going to have to show up the transition defense.
Hawk, what do you think? Must win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if they tighten their neutral zone gaps and get Tkachuk the puck below the dots,
the blue line.
I mean, game 3.
He's right about the neutral zone.
Yeah, absolutely. The neutral zone. Well, that's where the stretch passes come in. And Toronto's very good at stretch passes, and all season long, actually over the last 2.5 seasons, Florida's been bad at defending against stretch passes. I think the upset in this series so far is Toronto hasn't exactly cashed those in. That's coming. Florida's defensemen have been terrible.
Yeah.
All of them have been bad. And I'm right there with you. We need to get Tkachuk in that happy place behind the net, quarterback in that power play. You need to draw some penalties, and you got to avoid the dumb ones the way that Kulikov has. I know Kulikov is going to play, but he's been a disaster so far in these first 2 games. Are you asking Chat GPT?
I mean, forecheck was disruptive as ever, but his lapses in defensive coverages off the rush that hurt him. Expect Maurice to adjust at home to get Barkov out against Nylander's line, and I think Game 3 will tell a completely different story.
Nylander's been the...
Well, Nylander, I grew
He's
up
been
with
the thing. That's what makes me scared. If there's anything that's scary in this series is that he's hot.
Yeah, he's a really good
physically
player.
and literally and figuratively.
And he's one of the few players on Toronto that you know is a gamer. I know he had that weird thing where was he concussed last year? Where is William Nylander? Matthews hasn't really gotten going yet.
He's still silent right now.
Yeah, he's still silent. Marner's one of those players that tends to disappear, and you know that you're going to lose a game if Marner's going to have a snipe like that. I don't think that goal was so bad. And like I said, Bob had some really big saves. So like he stopped some that should have went in, and he let in some that he probably should have stopped. This is about Florida's best player scoring some goals and just playing some good hockey. Stop being so sloppy with the puck and taking some bad penalties, Hawk.
Yeah.
That's what Chat GPT came back with.
It's loading. It's a little slower than usual.
You know, when you celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, I had to bring in a Miller Lite aficionado, Greg Cody. I mean, no one says Miller Lite like Greg Cody. When I think of me and you, I think of us on a golf course. Where else are we at?
I mean, on a cruise ship, in my backyard.
At the beach.
At the beach is a good one.
And what do we always do? We hear the...
Oh, yeah.
And then what do?
We toast.
We got a nice little clink. The clink, whether it's the can or the bottle, there's something about the clink of the Miller Lite.
Yeah, and it's not just how much we love it. It's the whole ritual of it. You know, the popping the top, the sound of that. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
From game nights to parties with friends or a special anniversary, celebrating important occasions means more with the coolest people in your life. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer since 1975. Now's the perfect time to celebrate legendary stories with friends, family, and a great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. The simple ingredients, that malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors and that iconic golden color.
Yes, it's one. Everything about it is wonderful. I can't think of anything bad.
You're smiling. Ever since we started doing this ad read, you have just been smiling the entire time.
I'm a Miller Lite guy.
That kind of thing. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Folks, listen up. If you run anything online these days, a podcast, a merch store, whatever it is, you're basically forced to wear 12 hats. Marketing? Sure. Customer service? Why not? And now you're supposed to be your own IT department? Kinsta is managed WordPress hosting, which means you get blazing fast site speeds, top-tier security, and a dashboard that doesn't look like it was built in 2006. And if something goes sideways, real humans, not bots, to help you 24/7. No scripts, no sorry I don't understand replies. Kinsta takes the stress out of tech stuff so you can actually focus on your business. Or in our case, more time watching games, arguing nonsense, and delivering the hottest take possible. No messing with settings, no panic troubleshooting, just smooth sailing. Tired of being your own website support team? Switch your hosting to Kinsta and get your first month free. And don't worry about the move, they'll handle the whole transition for you. No tech expertise required. Just visit kinsta.com/Dan to get started. That's KINSTA.com/Dan.
The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high-stakes drama, the clutch moments, the jaw-dropping plays, and if you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DAN. That's code DAN, D-A-N, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Dan Le Batard.
Mike Ryan's in there, and he's the one with a baby. He's the one who's got to, worry about what the future is. And Mike Ryan bet on DraftKings because Mike Ryan bet on us. This is the bet you're afraid of doubling down on? Putting up a billboard in Edmonton?
Stugotz.
I care more about Matthew Tkachuk than I do my daughter.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
The real question I have going into this game 3 at home in our barn, had to say barn, was working in a barn no matter what.
Yeah.
Who's drumming tonight? The first series was not happy. It was like the 7th guy for Inter Miami and then Jonnu Smith. All right, we need to do better.
Jonnu did a good job.
I'm not saying, no, I'm not, this is not my, I'm not judging their, I'm just saying name, like, get me excited.
Kremovsky should have never been drumming that drum.
Right.
Never.
It's just so, I don't know who they got today. Roy, I don't know, a little inside source here. What are we looking at here? What are we
word
thinking?
yet. No word yet.
Maybe like a Heat, like it's not going to be like a Heat player or something.
It's not going to be Udonis Haslam because he's going to be at the Battle Core Championship.
That's true.
Keep an eye on Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
They busted
Golden
him
Bear.
out.
Yeah, that was last season.
That was the Stanley Cup. Like I don't think he's coming out.
You don't think he's coming back?
Dude, that was a very
times.
controversial one.
But did they win?
If you're Jack Nicklaus and you do a Stanley Cup final game, you can't then like do a round 2 game.
Yeah.
Like you can't go back into
You should
round
never
2.
be invited back if when you drum the team loses.
That's true.
It's all about positive juju here.
Yeah,
but Florida is down 0-2, and the Toronto Maple Leafs in their playoff history are 11-0 when they go up in a series 2-0. Now, most teams are. When you go up 2-0.
Except for the Kings.
Yeah, that's very true. And which leads me to my next point, and we'll close with hockey on this. The Edmonton Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, so scary.
They're going to win the Stanley Cup. And LA had them dead to rights. I was watching that game in the RV at Talladega, and we had them. We had the Oil done and dusted. They had that miraculous they had that miraculous goal there, and then the dumbest challenge in the history of sports, and it just ends the series right then and there. You're watching it, and you realize LA's coach just ended this series. Edmonton and Pete Blackburn had a great tweet about watching the Edmonton Oilers, because when that team goes down, it is horrifying. Keep in mind, this is a Vegas Golden Knights, a team with championship pedigree, and they look completely helpless when Edmonton truly has it going. Even no lead is safe. Pete Blackburn tweeted out last night, every Oilers game is like watching someone start a bar fight by immediately giving the other person a gun and then kicking their ass in self-defense. And that couldn't be truer. There's just so much talent. Draisaitl, once again, a finalist for the Hart. McDavid hasn't even truly gotten going yet. They have so much speed, so much talent, and on top of all of that, they've done the suffering. They're pissed off, and they know that they can microwave a comeback at any point. This team is so dangerous. They got that look. I'd be terrified to play them. I think the one opportunity to kill them was wasted by LA. Edmonton has it going. They're going to be Stanley Cup champs.
Switching goaltenders from Stuart Skinner to Calvin Pickard actually helped them out too. He's undefeated right now.
And if you look at Pickard's numbers, like it's not like crazy impressive, but if you watch the games contextually, he's made some very timely saves, some big time saves that has kept some deficits from getting out of hand. And he's just I was so happy to see Stuart Skinner between those pipes. Pickard is a bit of a different situation. He might be good enough. Now, I don't know if he's at the level to win a Stanley Cup. They're going to get tested, and this clip will no doubt be rehashed when they're inevitably down 2-0 in a series, and then they do that thing again. But Edmonton looks frightening right now, and I think that they've done the right amount of suffering, and it's just finally their time. He's the best player on the planet, and he's going to win. Like, thank God we got them when we did.
I don't want to play this game, but if you're Stuart Skinner, put yourself in his mind. Is he rooting? Does he want to play, or does he just want to win in the playoffs? They're up 2-0. Is he hoping that they lose Game 3 badly
so he
that
come
he
back?
can get in?
I almost want to know,
hot hand. I don't think you could be.
You think they would give him even a loss? If Pickard had a bad game, they'd stick with him for one more.
I think they'd give him one bad game.
Yeah, I just always wonder. It's like the Stugotz question of happiest guy on a losing team. Is this guy rooting for his goalie? Because they'd still be in it if they lose it. I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic.
Toronto's going to go Wall, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're just going to. I mean, Wall played well, and you have the easy thing in your back pocket saying Stoley's just not right yet.
Right.
He's still concussed, so you keep riding the hot hand.
He didn't make the trip, Stoley.
All right. So Wall. It's going to be Wall for the next 2 games at least. I know that they have that young prospect goalie that they were really excited about that didn't necessarily run with the opportunity. But this is your opportunity, Florida, to get back in this series. I don't know why, but I'm pretty certain this is going back to Toronto 2-2. I certainly hope so. Florida's screwed if it doesn't. But this is where the champions prove that they're the Stanley Cup champions, and they defend their home ice. Now, they haven't been so good this postseason in home ice, especially not on the power play. What are they, 0-for at home on the power play.
50% on the road and 0 for at home.
That's going to have to turn
due?
around. That's going to have to turn
Due
around.
factor?
Yeah, and the Maple Leafs are due 11-0. There was one story in the NHL that didn't have to do with any of the playoff teams, and Joel Quenneville is back in the NHL.
That's unbelievable.
It's not.
No, it's not, because Stan Bowman has a job right now. He's in the front office for Edmonton. But that's not a good look.
And I think, look, if in a vacuum, Anaheim made a good hire.
Yes.
Anaheim's one of those teams, and I know Billy was hot on the Ducks. They're right there. They got some good young talent. They need to be a little bit more disciplined. Now, I know that they kind of had a disciplinarian at head coach, but Coach Q is kind of, overboard on that. He's a guy that's been there. It is the right hire for them in a vacuum. But also, he was at the helm in Chicago overlooking all sorts of sexual assaults, power dynamics that were totally abused, and that's really, really bad. When it happened, it felt like, given where Coach Q was in his career, that was it. He was never coming back to the sport. And things have changed, and he's back. And Anaheim picked the perfect day and the perfect time to announce it as a new pope is being announced. You could not have gotten... Do you think that they were just watching the conclave coverage, waiting to... All right, we got white smoke. We're announcing Coach Q right now.
Smart, genius level.
It is, and you would think that the eyes of the world would be tuned into the Anaheim Ducks coaching search. But when it comes to, people in power that have overlooked sexual assault, the eyes of the world are going to be on the Catholic Church. It's just by comparison, you're talking about thousands of cases and cover-ups. So that, we're naturally going to be fixated on that. But Anaheim Ducks, in terms of a news dump, it's hard to get much better than that in terms of your timing, because this is going to get totally swept.
I feel like in terms of hires they could have made that made news, Gordon Bombay would have been the only one bigger, right? If the Ducks hired Gordon Bombay.
Yeah, hiring a fictional character, that would have made a lot of news. Yeah,
because the Ducks fly together, if you guys don't remember.
What's your dilemma for tonight's game?
I have an interesting dilemma. I bought my wife for Christmas Teddy Swims tickets on Game Time, by the way. I used Game Time for the best tickets, and it's tonight. And I told her at the beginning of the playoffs that, we hope that we get lucky with this Teddy Swims
You love
concert.
doing this, by the way.
What?
You love having tickets on nights that there's huge games happening. Because it happened the other day, didn't it?
How can I project this?
Didn't you go to
Teddy Swims?
He's a singer that my wife likes.
Big time act.
Yeah, he's a rising star.
He's
I'd
a
say.
swimmer.
But and I bought my wife tickets. I had planned on going, and my wife's not happy.
Jelly Roll.
He's a lot like Jelly Roll in that he's a white guy with tattoos that people like and has the voice of an angel.
So my wife, we're in an argument right now, and she wants me to go. I told her to invite her sister, invite a friend, and so we're still it's tonight, and I still don't know yet how this is going to be resolved.
Did you buy these tickets before the schedule was released?
I brought these tickets for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, she shouldn't be angry.
Thank you, Roy.
You got to know it's May, though.
Oh, no, trust me. Trust me. In these arguments, no more gifts in May and June.
Yeah.
No more gifts. No more concerts.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, it was one of those last minute, couple days before Christmas, I think I need one more thing kind of gift. We've all been there. I need one more thing to really feel like I've done enough here. So I just pulled Teddy Swims out of my purse. And it's just now it's screwing me. I regret doing it. A terrible choice by me. And I need Melanie to go to this concert. So if we can all just push energy towards my wife's friend, Melanie. Please go to this concert. Spare me some pain.
Well, another scenario here is Game 4 is on Mother's Day.
That one I've already gotten approval.
Wait,
really?
what?
No. How about this?
Because we have Saturday plans.
If they lose this game, you're not going to Game 4.
Right.
You're not going that. You're selling that to a Maple Leafs fan.
My wife tried to paint it as Game 3. You have Game 4, so Game 3 is not important. I'm like, I'm telling you, this is the most.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. If they drop this game, you are not going to Game 4.
The barn needs me.
It does.
Well,
what?
The barn needs him.
If I put my tickets up, you know who's going to buy it? Toronto fans.
Yeah, Maple Leaf fans.
But you already got approval to skip Mother's Day to go to a Panthers game. Now you're skipping a Christmas present also. In 2 times in 3 days. You're really pushing
But my wife is playing this gymnastics because we have Saturday Mother's Day plans this year. So she just is like, we're doing something Saturday, so it works out. You can go on Sunday.
That's a losing game for you, friends.
But it's
just so you know, when Mother's Day comes, Saturday wasn't going to have been Mother's Day.
It was, though. Before the hockey schedule came out, we had Saturday Mother's Day plans. it's a tough one, and I've put my foot down. We're arguing right now. We are in a fight because My wife has kind of just been like, she's guilt tripping me of like, you don't like, what's more important? She's making this about her versus the Panthers.
It's Mother's Day and her Christmas present.
This is about her. This is about Teddy Swims versus the Panthers.
Teddy Swims
Christmas
is a great
present.
name, by the way. I don't know much about him.
Can't be his real name.
I'm all for like verbs as last names. I think that's a good thing.
His name's not even Teddy.
It's not?
No, it's Jaden Colin Dimsdale.
Of course.
That sounds like a serial killer.
100%.
Now you're playing a game.
That's a good one.
Also, like if you murder people and you sign Teddy Swims, like that's
also kind of
that's a sick serial killer like sign.
Or like Britney Spears. Like, yeah, we know that now, but if we didn't know who she was and she signed like Britney Spears, it's like that's scary.
You know what I've always thought, Hawk, is when I have 2 daughters, right? And when my daughters were born, I felt like immediate relief, and I was like, okay, thank God. Like, no matter how badly I screw this up, there are very few women serial killers. So, like, no matter what I do, probably won't be serial killers.
Yeah.
Just statistically. And by the way, I would like to say, like, I fully, like, on record, I fully believe in women's ability to be serial killers should they choose to be. Like, and I would support the decision. And if my daughters decide to be serial killers, I would support them, right?
Like,
you still love them?
I would still love them.
White.
You wouldn't be any more supportive of your daughter's serial killers than you would your son's serial killers.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I would believe in my daughter's equal ability to be serial killers as my son if I had
better.
one. Yeah, possibly better.
I don't think there's ever been a Cuban serial killer that's a woman.
Well, you know what? Cross your fingers.
Really?
Maybe we break the mold.
I feel pretty confident in that.
I feel like there's serial killers every shape, form, size.
Yeah.
Man.
Here's the
I
thing.
bet you we can find one relatively quickly.
I mean, the best serial killers, you don't know who they are. They never get found.
Those are that's the Hall of Fame.
Hall of
We're not
Fame
talking
right
about
there.
Hall of Famers,
No.
bro. That's
Well,
like,
I mean, my daughters, I feel it could be Hall of Fame serial killers.
You think so?
Well, that'd be good because then you would never know.
Yeah.
I think to be Hall of Fame, the number one rule is nobody knows that it's the case.
It's kind of like being a good guard in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like when you're the best version, we don't know your name.
We don't know your name.
As simple as that.
Yeah, I've caught myself looking off in the distance lovingly at Chat GPT Hockey Expert Andrew Hawkins. If he wants to poke his head back in here, I ain't mad.
You're okay with it?
There was one story that in the NFL that we actually didn't really get all that into in the day that it broke, and it was kind of weird how it broke because Adam Schefter was like, trade is coming. And then people had all sorts of questions about the compensation, and that was a George Pickens acquisition. I kind of thought the compensation was kind of on the money, given how crazy George Pickens is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him personally, but on the field, as an athlete, his persona on the field is crazy.
Yeah, he's one of the crazy in terms of like watching a player.
Yeah. It's the fun. It's the fun of it.
Yeah, in terms of like spazzing out on the field, this guy is capable of anything. Like he's like Draymond in that way.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
And it's kind of crazy to say this in terms of unpredictability and crazy style on the field. To ever wear that uniform, he's up there. He might be gold medalist
in a short amount of time, without a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's up there for sure. What did they trade him for? Was it a third rounder? Is that what the compensation was?
Which is kind of, this is a guy that is still new in his career. This guy that people don't deny his talents, had some of the craziest in-game catches that you'll ever see. Unbelievable talent, but also a psychopath on the field and someone that could actually hurt your team chemistry in the locker room, someone that can give you a big-time penalty, some guy whose inconsistency and unpredictability on the field almost seems like a perfect fit for Dallas and what Jerry Jones is always trying to accomplish, which is just like he's just a mad scientist over there putting all these different variables together.
The good news is that they already have a number one over in Dallas, and it's CeeDee Lamb. Me and Hawk were talking before the show, and it's like, was George Pickens a number one? He's like, no, he's a really good number two because you can't have your number one be that unpredictable.
That's
like your number one's got to be like, all right, I know my job, I do my job, and that's what it is.
And you got like the number one is the guy you rely on in all situations. I always say and I don't know, do you guys want an analyst Hawk? Because I got a tweet or I got a message from
preferably
a meme.
Hockey analyst Hawk, but yes, you can do this.
Yeah, I mean that's powered by Chat GPT.
You can do your day job.
But I posted something where I was talking about Mike McDaniel on Rich Eisen, and then Amin commented, "This is the analysis that they get, and we get fun CTE." And for me, fun CTE Hawk is the better version of Hawk.
I agree.
But I never know how in depth you want me to go.
Let's go.
We need like 45 seconds to a minute every appearance of actual real analysis.
I'll give it to you. All right, so George Pickens, just like you talked about, he is very unpredictable. When I look at a number one receiver, I want you to be able to do two things at a high percentage. Catch and run a slant when we need it, and also be able to execute go balls, right? Now, George Pickens loves going deep routes, contested catches. He can do that. But on a third down in 5, one-on-one, we know you're getting the ball. We know they're trying to stop you. They're shading a safety your way or shading a linebacker. Can you still get free and make the catch? I don't think George Pickens has developed his game enough to do those kind of things consistently. Like to be in a spot always for the quarterback, to make sure he's doing all the little things away from the ball. Yes, we know you want the ball. Every receiver wants the ball. And we know you're great at making a play on the ball, but you got to know how what you do when you're not being the target affects the entirety of the offense and also affects your ability to have a higher percentage of getting open. And that's what I've always questioned about George Pickens. Does he have an ability for a number one receiver? Have the talent? Yes. Is he that level for skill, and does he execute his game at the position to be a number one? I would say no. So third rounder makes sense for the Cowboys, and he is the number 2 to CeeDee Lamb, who will be the unequivocal number 1.
I want to stay here for a little bit and pick on that brain a little bit more because George Pickens assumed that he was the number 1 in Pittsburgh, and talent-wise, production-wise, a little hit or miss. How does I guess I'm asking you to get inside George Pickens' head, which is a crazy place to be.
Ooh.
But it's pretty well established where CeeDee Lamb is in this league. And for George Pickens to go into Dallas, how do you think he approaches that? Do you still think he thinks he's alpha?
Oh, yeah. He has that personality for sure. And I don't mind that. I like it.
I like him.
Come on, man. I thought we were faster than that, Chris. All right, but yeah, I like that mentality and mindset. I still need you to essentially do your job. Like everybody, when you're coaching a team or building a roster, like there are people with a high upside, high ceiling. Maybe if this situation happens, we get the most out of them. But then also if the floor is bottomless, that's hard to build around, especially when he is your best receiver. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like, man, we're going to come into this game and we don't know what he's going to do on any given play. That's hard to build a game plan around. That's hard to see what your holes and needs are as an offense. So you go get DK Metcalf and you can argue, okay, who would you rather have over the next 4 years? But no matter what, you can say, I know what DK Metcalf is going to do within the confines of the whistle. He still has a little wild child to him as well, but at least as a player, he's a lot more consistent than what you see from George Pickens.
So what you're saying is you don't want a number 1 who on a run blocking play is people elbowing somebody.
Yes, that's essentially
Just write that down.
Right, yeah, I'm kicking real game here. Okay,
like don't people's
elbow
get that
a dog analysis pile. Anywhere else.
But he was on a franchise that had Mike Tomlin, who's navigated crazy receivers before.
Yeah.
And there were people there to kind of check him. It wasn't the veteran teams of Pittsburgh past. He goes to Dallas. And Dallas is the kind of place where they've made these moves and they expect guys to not be crazy, and then they're so crazy because it's a bit of a rudderless ship.
Yeah,
it starts at the top because Jerry's kind of a wild man.
Yeah, Jerry's nuts, man. Bring on the nuts.
Yeah, so like this.
That's a crap.
That's okay.
That's going to the club pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
So who's going to hold this dude in check? Like in that wide receiver room, I don't really know if that's CeeDee's style, and he's not there in his career where he's like veteran guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would likely have to be Dak Prescott. I mean, this is a new toy for Dak Prescott to use because it's hard to even. We talked about CeeDee Lamb when there's no other threats. Like, hey, you are making my job 10 times harder by not giving me the balance of making sure we have somebody that you have to give attention to. So I do think it can get pretty balanced pretty quickly because George Pickens seeing one-on-one and CeeDee Lamb seeing one-on-one, you got to pick your poison.
Is George Pickens the kind of guy that you look at and it's like, that's untapped potential? Like, he can be a consistent number 1 in the league, or is George Pickens what he is? Like, this guy's going to be kind of a helter-skelter experience and always kind of someone that you can't fully depend on, because I'm not saying like he's a finished product, but I don't necessarily think that it's gonna just all of a sudden.
I think he'll do better in Dallas than he did in Pittsburgh, like statistically, and I know that was a big
because of the quarterback situation.
Because of the quarterback situation, Schefter put out a tweet about receivers who left and didn't do better, and he also had Mike Wallace on there. I would argue Mike Wallace doesn't belong on that list, but then Emmanuel Sanders did well, Plaxico Burress did well as well, and the fact that Pickens is early in his career and he's going to a better quarterback with a need for what he does, I think will be it. But to your question, yes, it will always be all over the place. Antonio Brown, who obviously people think of every time they talk about Steelers receivers and what Tomlin had to deal with. What Antonio Brown did better than anybody is be obsessed with football. I mean, this is a guy that I remember after my first year in the league, we were both had an appearance with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. And he's like, yo, come, I'll come to your room at some point, blah, blah, blah. So this is like a week after the season. My body still hurts from the last game. His season is over. This is before he's taken off as Antonio Brown. And I knock on the door. He drenched in sweat with a ladder in the hotel room. Got done with an hour and a half of just ladder drills. And I'm talking about drenched in the room, brought his own ladder. And this is what he is always. And when you put that kind of work in, it's going to show up on the field. I don't know if that is George Pickens. But that is the only way you can say, okay, George Pickens, I'm confident he'll develop into a consistent player at a high level.
I mean, it's definitely a sad story what happened to AAB because you look back at interviews from that time. He was just a different cat. And the eyes weren't as glassy like that. I mean, we all know that there's a lot going on there with AB. I mean, it certainly played out in the public before, but people forget where he came from, what he had to do to work.
He's a dog.
Yeah, absolute dog. Even if, with the hard knock stuff and his feet all torn up, that guy would work super hard, and then lost the plot. Everything got away from him, and what was going on between the ears played a factor there. But I don't know if George Pickens has ever shown the commitment to the game that AB has.
No, and maybe because he didn't have to get it the same way AB had to get it out the mud. You know what I mean? AB comes from a horrible neighborhood in South Florida. Family situation not great.
No, he had to fight for his life.
Literally fight for his life. Was on his own as a young teenager. Packs his bag up, literally one bag, and goes to walk on at Central Michigan. He's a 6th rounder. He leaves it. Literally, he had to earn every piece of it. So I think just that mentality of him not knowing what was next is what fueled the way that he worked. I don't know if that's George Pickens' reality.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, when they typically take these swings, I don't know what the record is. It kind of feels like the Dolphins do when they go after big-time talent. It doesn't always work out. It's worked out in some cases with you can argue Brandon Marshall it worked out. Certainly with Ricky Williams it worked out, but their history is littered with guys that they took big swings on, David Boston types, where it just didn't end up working out. And Dallas, it starts at the top, and it kind of always feels like they take these swings and it doesn't necessarily go their way. Usually you can lump in the Cleveland Browns, and I want to have a discussion with you, a Cleveland Browns luminary, about what the F they did a couple of weeks ago.